This is the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast with your host, Kevin Murray.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast. On this episode, we have an amazing guest. You've seen him on Sirius XM for years and years and years. He's one of the most talented analysts in fantasy sports. It's Adam Ronis. Welcome to the show, my man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate the invite. It's always good to talk to you. I don't get to talk to you much. Did get to see you at the Fantasy Football Expo the last 2 years, I think, right?
That's right. Yeah, we had a little ride share together once.
Appreciate
upon a time.
that. Yeah, you looking out for me, man.
Of course. And we also spent a little bit of quality time doing that tour in Vegas to the Raiders Stadium, which was a ton of fun.
Yeah, that was phenomenal. I'm glad that we got to do that, and I was just amazed at how well they put that stadium together. A football team, question marks there, but the stadium is phenomenal.
For sure, yeah, fantastic stadium. It was a fun time with you and Howard Bender and Bob Lung put that together. Scott Fish was there. It was a good time. So, but again, Adam Ronis, pleasure to have you on here. For people that might be unfamiliar with what you're doing these days, can you share a little bit about what you're doing with Fantasy Life and in the new Sirius XM show you're doing?
Yeah, recently joined Fantasy Life, and I'm doing their Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio show. So it just started July 8th. So I'm working with Kendall Valenzuela, and the show is going very well. We didn't know each other at all before the show was put together. We just did like a quick demo, and the chemistry has really evolved. And I'm not the only one saying it. I've gotten a lot of comments that they love it. So, I've always said that I can work with anyone. I feel like I'm very easygoing, and I've worked with so many different co-hosts over the years. There's at least 30 to 40 different people I've worked with. So as someone, I just like to make things easier for everyone, the producers, the co-hosts,
sure,
and just want to have fun, be entertaining, and obviously give people information to help them win. So I'm really pleased with where the show is and how quickly the chemistry develops, because sometimes you don't know. And, Kendall's been great. And the one thing I noticed immediately was I asked her, I said, you have broadcasting background, right? She's like, yeah, because I could tell because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of people in this industry, and it's no disrespect to them. It's not a bad thing, that don't have any broadcasting background. That sometimes, everyone seems to have a podcast now.
Sure.
There's very few that have the broadcasting background. And, I always wanted to go into radio. I went to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, and Kevin Burkhardt, the main man for Fox now, was actually one of my instructors. So This is something I've always wanted to do. And I could just tell Kendall's really smooth, professional, and I'm very happy with the show. And this is the third week or fourth week that we've been doing the show. So it's Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern to 1 p.m. Eastern, and just happy that it's really hit the ground running.
Yeah, and again, your talent, your experience, your history in radio has been pretty awesome. All the amount of shows you've been doing over the years. And Kendall, like when it comes to the fantasy community, there's very few people that I think are as talented as she is. She is so good at what she does. So it's just a perfect pairing. It's something that's awesome. I love the combination. I think the sky is the limit for you guys.
Yeah, because again, sometimes you don't know how's it gonna go. And I think it's just clicked really well so far, and it's only going to get better as we get to know each other more. Clearly, I'm learning more about her. She's learning more about me. And I think it comes off as, we're having fun. And actually, recently she's on the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast, and we actually are getting to do the show in studio for 3 days. And that dynamic really helps, because when I first started on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio in 2010, when the channel launched, I was in studio for every show for the first 5.5 years. It's only over the last few years that a lot of people are doing shows from home, and it's great, right? We're comfortable, but there is that missing element of being in person in the studio that just makes it more fun, more dynamic, and you get to see the nonverbal actions. I mean, you can do it over Zoom, but it's a different energy when you're in person.
Yeah, and it's great for the future when you are doing more remote stuff with her to have this experience right now, I'm sure, right?
Yes, no doubt about it.
And, I'm a huge fan of Kendall. There's no secret. She's former Seattle Mariner ball girl. So as a Mariner fan,
that I didn't know. Okay,
fan,
good.
yeah.
I will bring that up. I'm going to bring that up. I'll be like, so I've been
she-
doing some research and digging on
yeah.
you, and I heard this. She'll be like, what? Like, yeah.
You heard she's the greatest Mariner ball girl of all time. I have nothing to really objectively quantify that, but in my opinion, there's no other. It's Kendall Valenzuela. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I'm sure. I mean, we obviously don't really only talk football, but it could be a poor second half to the season for our baseball team. She's a Mariners fan. I'm a Mets fan. Obviously, the Mets have been great, but I'm just hoping that they could stay entertaining these final 2 months and somehow sneak in the playoffs.
We'll see. I'm hoping the same thing for the Mariners for sure. Now, obviously, you're no doubt you're a massive sports fan. You, unlike a lot of people that just kind of stick to one sport, you do it all. It's pretty incredible. It's quite a task to do all the research and to know everything. You consume massive amount of sports. Obviously, where did it all begin for you? What was it? Was it just from early childhood?
Yeah, and what's crazy is I don't know where it came from because I grew up in a household with 3 women. My dad passed away when I was 4 years old. So I didn't have that male figure that a lot of people had to like get them into sports. So I don't know. I don't know how I didn't grow up, I really don't know. All I know is I loved baseball as a kid. I was collecting baseball cards, the stickers, and I grew up about a mile from Shea Stadium. So I grew up obviously a Mets fan. My dad was a big New York Rangers fan. He had season tickets. He left some memorabilia behind. So I got into the Rangers. And then a lot of people say, wait, you're from New York and you're a Cowboys fan. The reason for that is I had a neighbor who was like a big brother to me. So when I first started watching football, like 87, 88, he got me into the Cowboys. He was a big Cowboys fan. So he got me into them. And that's how I became a Cowboys fan. So yeah, I just liked sports as a young kid. I was always into it. Anyone who you ask who knows me from childhood, you say, oh, Adam Ronis. They're like, oh, huge sports fan. Love the Mets, Cowboy. Like, that's the one thing everyone will say. So it was just a passion of mine since I was young. And as I got older, yeah, I wanted to play sports. But you met me, man. I just don't have the body to go pro. So bad genetics. My parents didn't give me. So it's funny, too, because my mom as a kid would not let me play Little League Baseball. She's like, I was afraid you're going to get hurt. Finally, sophomore year of high school, I said, can I play football? She's like, yeah, but I don't want to have you get hurt. So I played football. Obviously, I didn't start, but got some time. But I knew I wasn't going to make it to any other level. So I said, all right, I need to do something that involves sports. So I started writing for the high school newspaper in like my junior year. So did that, got some internships at weekly newspapers. And I always wanted to do radio because I grew up in New York, listening to WFAN all day, all night. I was a night owl, so an overnight shift was perfect. So I'm like, this is what I want to do. I talk sports all day anyway. Now I can do it for a living and be on the radio. I'm like, this is what I want. I went to Queens College in New York. I'm the most famous graduate, second favorite, famous behind me, Jerry Seinfeld. You guys might have heard of him. Yeah. So they didn't have a radio station. So again, I was writing for the school newspaper. And then I almost transferred to Hofstra because they had a radio station in Long Island, and I put the deposit down and I was like, I'm not going to go. Hindsight, I'm kind of glad I didn't have to take any loans going to a small local college in Queens. I got a scholarship, financial aid. So I basically didn't pay for college. I did miss that experience, parties and all that for those that went away. And then once I graduated from there, I started working at Newsday, a big paper in New York City and Long Island. So I was covering high school sports there. And then in 2002, I went to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting to get that training. And Kevin Burkhardt was one of my instructors from Fox. So that was big. And so I was doing the newspaper stuff for a while. And then I started doing some high school football radio in New Jersey somewhere in the 2000s. I did it for 3 years. And I was doing the pregame show, the halftime show, and the postgame show, running the board, taking calls and recording them from stringers in the field to give updates. So I was doing it all. I mean, that's something now at Sirius XM, you have a host, you have a producer. So I was doing everything, and it was a great experience, even though I made no money. I actually lost money between driving driving from Queens to Sussex County in New Jersey between tolls and gas and what they paid me. I didn't make anything, but it was all for the experience. And then, so I always wanted to do radio. And then in 2010, Sirius XM started a fantasy channel. And at that time, I was doing work for Roto Experts. And Scott Angle was the one who was instrumental because he was supposed to do the show with someone else. They bailed last minute. And they were like, what are we going to do? And Scott's like, I got the guy. And he's like, well, bring him in and let's see. He brought me in, and I am not a morning person at all. And our first show was 7 a.m. Eventually it went to 6 a.m. I remember when they first said, it's going to be 7 or 8 a.m. I said, well, I'm doing 8 a.m. I'm not doing 7. Because now, remember, I have to take a subway and bus from Queens, New York to the city. And he's like, well, it's going to be 7 a.m. So you're either in or out. Now, am I going to turn down a national radio show where I can really build a name for myself and get exposure and be known? So I said, all right, I'll do it. And obviously been there since 2010. But the one thing is, a lot of people don't know is those first 2 years, I didn't get paid anything. Like not a dime. Like it was all on my own. They just paid for my travel. That was it. And, because this argument always comes up on Twitter once a year. Should you work for free? This and that.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it. Now you could say my situation is different than most. At that time, well, still to this day, no wife, no kids. So I don't have anyone to support, where others might have a situation where like, I can't do that. So I understand that. But at the same time, no one knew who I was back then. So it can't just be handed to you. I had to go out and earn it. And I'm going to be honest, the first couple months I sucked because I was so conscious of what I was saying. I didn't allow my personality to shine. And it took a while. And then you just get comfortable. And even if you are a podcast host, go back and listen to your first few.
Yeah.
They're going to suck. It's just the way it is. You're starting off, right?
Yeah.
It takes a while to get comfortable and understand that you have to be energetic. And the lesson I learned was I was doing color commentary in New York for a high school baseball game. I got the tape. I listened to it. I was like, this is horrible. It sounded like I didn't want to be there. It sounded like I had no energy. And I said, this is never going to happen again. So it's very useful to go back and listen. Same thing with writing. Like I go back and look at my early writing clips. I'm like, this is horrendous. But like anything, you have to get a start. You have to understand. You got to get your voice. You got to get comfortable. So yeah, it's been a long journey. And I never, like I said, I wanted to do sports talk radio. I never thought it would be fantasy sports, but it just, because I didn't think it would grow to that level, and it did.
Yeah.
And I'm just fortunate. I came in at the right time, but at the same time, I also have the work ethic and the drive. There's so many people, and there's so many people that want to do this. They think it's easy. Oh, I'm good. I win my home league. I'm smart. And I'm not saying this is brain surgery, but you have to work at this. It's a grind. You have to do it every day. It's not when you want. If you want to be great at this, it's every day. And like you mentioned, like I'm putting out content every single day, because now I'm into sports betting too. So I run a service on Dub Club. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Ronis if you want to check it out. There's a 3-day free trial if you want to see. But I post my results almost every night. You can see they're pretty good. So I'm doing it for baseball, basketball, and football. So it's every day. The fantasy content, which I also do football, baseball, and basketball. There's only people in this industry that only do football. And you guys have it really good. You really do. But again, I'm not complaining because I love this. This is what I want to do. And that's what I always tell young people is find something you're passionate about. And it's not only just about the money. Like we all want to make money. We all want to be millionaires, but realistically, you want to enjoy life. Like I show up to the radio show every day knowing I'm going to have fun and that I get to entertain people. And I've made so many friends over the years from that radio show. Like I have friends to this day that I met them through the show, because when we first started, anyone who listened to Roto Experts in the Morning, 2010, 2016, myself, Scott Angle, Corey Parson, Mike DeMurgis, Dr. Roto was a part of it, like so many names. Like we just it was kind of like Howard Stern fantasy. Like we had so much fun. We joked with callers, and I made friends to this day from that show. So yeah, it's just, I'm blessed to be able to do this all these years and make a living off it. I don't take it for granted at all. But I do work hard, and I take pride in doing well in leagues, showing up, helping people win. Like, I'm on top of everything. So, but you got to put in the work. Some people don't understand that. And because I think this industry has become saturated now. There's so many voices out there, so many people who think they're great. and you got to separate yourself. But I'm just blessed to be able to do this.
Well, that's a great message. Obviously, yeah, hard work definitely pays off over time. You got to love what you do. So, and you clearly do that. Were the 86 Mets a part, like, was that your first, like, sports memory way back in the day?
It's very vague because I was young then. So
Yeah.
that's what, I always watched like the history of it and, go back and watch the games and realize they were so many times, they were one strike away from losing so many times. Like that
Yeah.
team just had the fight, the heart. So I was really too young to really enjoy it, which is why I really need the Mets to win a championship soon. That is the team I am thirsty for a championship. The
Yeah.
Cowboys obviously have been a disappointment for a long time now, but at least I
Yeah.
saw them win 3 championships in the 90s. The
Yeah.
Rangers I saw win in 94. That one was really special to me because I felt my dad was there with me because he never got to see them win a Stanley Cup and he had season tickets. He was in the blue heaven. So I felt like my dad was there with me watching them win the cup.
Love that.
But
Yeah, I
the
love
Mets,
that.
man, like I need them. I go to so many games. That's definitely the sport I go to most.
Yeah.
This year I've only actually gone to 3 games, but I typically go anywhere from 10 to 20. I don't live as close now. So it's a little bit of a pain as far as travel and then work. But yeah, I've been to playoff games, World Series. So I really need the Mets to win a World Series. That will really please me so much. And at least they have Steve Cohen owning the team now. So I think they're headed in the right direction. This was kind of supposed to be a bridge year, and they started off horribly. I thought they would done in May, and they've turned it around. And they've been one of the best teams in baseball over the last 2 months. And I just hope they're fun to watch right now. And I'm not expecting them to win the World Series. Just get in the playoffs and get hot and surprise me.
I love it. My first memories, I mean, obviously a Mariners fan growing up, but it was that 86 Mets was the first baseball season that I was like really tuned in on. So I loved that team. I love, Doc Gooden. And I still can't believe Greg Jeffries didn't turn out because, I mean, I love that guy too.
I
right?
remember having his baseball cards, seeing him play.
Such a popular, yep, for sure. But what would be great is the Mariners Mets World Series someday. And then you and Kendall can have like your own spin-off show.
Yeah.
Just battling there.
They would say, guys, it's fantasy football season. Stop talking baseball in October.
I love it. Now, so with fantasy sports, when did you first discover fantasy sports?
I think I started playing like junior high school, and I was just always good at it, good at numbers, and just did very well. And then I'm trying to remember. So I started writing fantasy sports for Newsday about 2006, 2007. They asked me to do a weekly fantasy baseball column, a weekly fantasy football column. So from that, I don't know if you remember Blog Talk Radio. They had a fantasy sports channel. So I think it was like Paul Greco, Lenny Melnick reached out to me and they said, hey, do you want your own show? I said, sure. So I did a half-hour show by myself Tuesday nights and an hour on Wednesday afternoon. And that's where Scott Engel discovered me. He's like, hey, I heard you do a show by yourself. That's pretty impressive. A lot of people can't do a show by themselves. I saw you're writing for Newsday. He used to work there. So he said, why don't you come do some work for Roto Experts? I'm like, sure. So that's how, I got connected with him. And then from there, just, started to slowly, get into the fantasy industry and been at several companies now. So, but yeah, I was doing it since I was probably junior high school and basketball, baseball, and football.
I love it. Now, Scott Engel, that's my favorite New York Seahawk fan in the world. And have you ever seen him do karaoke? Because it's like, I mean, his performances are top notch. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I don't like to give Scott credit. I like to bust his balls a lot. We used to go at each other in the show, but he did help put me on the map. I owe him a lot. He gave me an opportunity. He's always been supportive. So I got to give him a lot of credit for sure. And he's helped a lot of others in this industry. And, that's why he's a Hall of Famer. So, but yeah. And, the one thing too is we didn't back down from each other. The one thing I feel that lacks in a lot of shows, there's no debate. Everyone agrees with each other. And I love debate. It's got to be organic though. It can't be forced. And me and Scott went at it. I mean, we almost came to blows one time. No joke in the studio. But, you cool down, whatever. But it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And, everyone still talks about that show to this day. And but yeah, he definitely help put me on the map and give me that opportunity. And everyone needs it, right? Anyone you talk to that's been successful, there's someone that opened the door for them. Once that door is open, it's on you to take advantage of it and show what you can do. But he definitely helped, put me on that morning show, which created a lot of opportunities the rest of the way.
Nice. So when it comes to playing the game, do you have, and again, you probably play in multiple sports. Do you have one league that's like your main league, the one that you got to win?
No, I want to win them all, man.
Okay.
I know you're like, oh, come on, there's got to be one. No, I'm so competitive. I hate to lose.
Yeah.
And if my name's on it, I want to win, right? We play in industry leagues where there's nothing on the line but bragging rights. I don't care. I want to win. My home leagues, yeah, it's nice to win. But I usually want to win the leagues with the high dollars, highest dollars, which I was able to do last year. I had a very successful football season in the high stakes leagues. The FFWC, I finished 10th overall in the online championship. They had 3 beat Adam Ronis leagues. I won 2 of them, made the playoffs in the 3rd. I did the NFFC Silver Bullet, which is a 1 entry fee, $1,000. And the team that was number 1 overall in the regular season was in my division. So I finished 2nd, but I doubled my money. Okay. So, yeah, I had a good year. But yet my home league, I lost in the championship. So that didn't go well. But, yeah. I want to win the leagues with the most money. I want to win all the leagues, but I know it's not possible. Maybe one year I can go like 12 for 12, 14 for 14. Probably not. But it's tough because I kind of lament the losses more than the wins. And I feel like as I get older, I got to change. Like you got to enjoy the victories. But I just hate to lose, man. Everyone says it, but I just cannot stand losing. And I'm trying to get better to understand there's other things in life and you can't win everything, but it's so hard, and that's why like Kobe Bryant's like one of my favorite players because of his competitive nature, man. And that's the thing. Kobe Bryant was very talented. It's obvious, but he put in the work. He worked hard. He didn't want to lose. I mean, the one story that sticks with me with Kobe Bryant is if you watch the Redeem Team on Netflix. Yeah. When they remember that team that was trying to win and they got all the stars and they were in Vegas, the whole team was coming back from the club at 5 a.m. And as they're walking to their hotel, Kobe Bryant is walking out, waking up to go work out at 5 a.m. And the whole team was like, wow. And for the next 2 weeks, they woke up early with him and worked out. So no matter how good you think you are, you've got to put in the work. It doesn't matter how talented, how smart you think. You still got to show up and put in the work. And that's what separates the elite players from the average ones. Even if you're talented, you show up and put in the work. And that's the thing, too. When you do this, whether it's a radio show or you got to show up every single day. Can't take a day off.
Absolutely. Now, you had a great run at Fantasy Alarm. What was that experience like from you? What did you take from that?
Yeah, no, I was really good. Great people there. Howard Bender, always had fun working with him. And we had a successful podcast, won an award as well. I think did we win the award for Cash It or Any Up? It was basically the same, but we changed the name. But we won an award for that. Covering all sports, got to do radio with them. And then, of course, doing shows with Justin Fensterman. We did the overnight. We did a live in-game betting show. And then we did some stuff at the Better Sports Network. So, getting to work with Justin as well. Fantasy Alarm was a good run. I did a lot over there, betting articles, fantasy, radio. So, I've been fortunate. I mean, this. Pretty much in this industry, there's not a bad person. I mean, I guess there is. I can't think of one offhand. I'm sure there's a couple, but for the most part, like everyone is pretty cool. You don't get too many egos. You have really positive experiences in this industry. So it was great working there. It was unfortunate. I didn't want to see my time end there. I would like to stay at, it feels like I'm at a place 3 years and move on. For different reasons. I did not want to leave Fantasy Alarm. Unfortunately, things happen where it just couldn't work out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously it was a great run. And like you said, amazing people there. It seems like you really established great relations with obviously Howard and Jen Piacenti. Like it's really cool to see, the ride you had there. And obviously, best is yet to come. It's exciting to see you with Fantasy Life doing your thing. What is it about radio that you love the most?
I just love talking and entertaining and I grew up listening to it and I just said, that's what I want to do. I mean, I like TV too. I've done some TV. I was doing some TV with Madison Square Garden doing their betting show. So I love TV too. I just like anything that's talking sports. It's just me. That's what I am. I mean, sports is like a massive part of my life. I just wake up every day watching sports all day. I mean, even when I'm on vacation, like I was on a cruise a few years ago and I had to purchase the internet because I had to follow the baseball box scores. And
Yeah.
that's the other thing. Like there's no good time to take a vacation for me because of all the 3 sports. It's usually between May and July because it's like, all right, you kind of have, I guess, right after the NBA finals, right? Because July, you really only have baseball. You get the All-Star break. You obviously cannot take a vacation from August to the rest of the year because it's all football. You just cannot take off. So most of my vacations, if I go anywhere, are usually anywhere between maybe right after the Super Bowl. I did do a vacation after the Super Bowl a couple years ago, but generally in that time. But again, this is, it's not, I don't look at it as a job. Like this is just something that I love and do. And I'm very competitive. Fantasy sports gives you that aspect of managing your team. I have gotten really big into the sports betting, especially as it's become legal in more and more states. I was always into it, but just it's become really big. And, that's something I do. And I think that creates more stress for me, though, because, like, look, I'm a successful bettor. Again, I post my results. You can see it. But you have to understand you're going to lose. And I don't do well losing. No,
you don't like to lose.
You know what I'm saying? Like and a 2-2 night is a loss unless you have like a plus 140. Like if you go 2-2 and your winning bets are minus 110 and minus 115, you lost that night. So I just try to explain to people that, look, if you're doing sports betting, it's a long-term game. You can't judge someone on 2 weeks, a month, and it's all about profit over the long haul. Like even, I worked for the Messenger, which was a startup company, and that only lasted 6 months. And I started there a year ago, July 31st, 2023. And I started doing a betting column there the end of August, and it was free. I started off 20-3. My editors were like, no one's going to believe this. I'm like, well, it's free. Obviously, I did cool off, but I finished plus 41 units over 6 months, and that was all free. And that's hard to do. But it's long term. Like I'm going to have a bad 2-week period. Everyone does. I'm going to go through a streak where it doesn't look good. But if you follow the long haul and you'll make money over the long term. But that's the one thing with sports betting, you're going to lose. Even if this football, you could have it's the same in fantasy, right? You have all the research, everything points to this happening. And whatever the reason is, injury, offensive line, bad coaching, it doesn't work out. And, you try to learn from it. You try to learn. That's what the goal is, learn from all the losses. But, I've always been passionate about sports, and radio was just something I grew up listening to in New York. And I just said, that's what I want to do. If I can, I talk sports all day anyway with friends and whoever listens. So pay me for it.
I love it. Yeah. Obviously in sports, fantasy, betting, whatnot, there's a luck component. The ball's going to bounce a certain way, but obviously with your work ethic and the way that you dive in, you're mitigating luck, right? With knowledge and understanding. So, hats off to you with your dedication to sports. I think it's fantastic. What's been the most rewarding, part of this ride in the fantasy sports industry?
I think the camaraderie and just the friends that I've made, like I told you, like listeners to the show have become my friends, and good friends. Just the stories you hear. We had a caller, Trucker Rob, who would call to our show every morning, and I would always joke with him. You're like, yeah, you're on the road. Well, I'm with your wife right now, things like that. And then unfortunately, like he passed away during our show. We had like a segment dedicated to him with his sound bites, and his wife messaged like, thank you. That means so much to me. You don't know how much you guys meant to him. And when he was sick. So things like that, you don't realize the reach that you have. Like Sirius XM's a national radio show. So, and I have friends like, this girl's like, oh, I was at work and someone's like, Adam Ronis? And she's like, yeah, what's the big deal? Because she's known me these years. So it's like, okay, not a big deal. And like, they get so excited. I remember going to a steakhouse in Brooklyn. The guy was a listener to the show. He's like, come by. So I went by with my girlfriend at the time. He sits us at the table. He starts talking to me for like 10 minutes and he turns to her. He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. She's like, it's okay. I understand. Just talk. It's cool. And so you just, all the people that you meet. I was on a cruise in Bermuda. I'm in the store with my girlfriend at the time. She's looking around buying stuff and someone comes up to me and he goes, are you Adam Ronis? I'm like, yeah. His wife's like, thank you so much. You made my husband so much money.
No
and
way.
he wanted to take a picture. I'm in Bermuda. Like,
That's awesome.
he's like, I thought it was you, but I wasn't sure. And then I saw your hair and you had a Noah Syndergaard jersey on, so I figured it had to be you. So like,
put those together, yeah.
right like it's just mind-boggling. Like in Bermuda on vacation, you run into someone that listens to the show. So just, all the relationships built and the people in this industry, you
Yeah.
just meet so many people that become friends or you sometimes like you just don't talk to them enough. There's just so many people and we're all in different cities, but that when we go to the expo and we all meet up or FSGA, that's kind of the only time you get to see some people in the industry unless you're in the area. I'm fortunate. I'm in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey. So like, we have a flex draft that everyone's going to get together and we'll see people there. Tout Wars for baseball is here. So, a lot on the East Coast, you see people meet up, but it really is the lifetime relationships that you make, obviously outside of making money.
Sure.
I like doing that, winning leagues, making money, but just all the people that you meet over the years that you develop friendships with, and especially people when you help them win, they look out for you. They'll say, hey, here's some Mets tickets or here's some memorabilia. So it's just rewarding, because it's always good to help people. And again, when you have the radio platform, podcast, just entertaining, because a lot of people go through hardships in life. They're sick or they just are tired of paying attention to the news and politics, and we're an outlet for them to escape. That's why they come to listen. And, you want to be entertaining, at the same time informative. You want to help them win, give them advice, but you also want to be entertaining so they can just escape whatever is going on in their life, whether it's personal or they get tired of hearing all the crap that goes on with politics or the news in the world. And, to provide that outlet and give them entertainment is very rewarding.
I love that. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And you're right. The fantasy football community is incredible. Fantasy sports community is incredible. Not just the people in it, though. Like you said, like the consumers, the people that consume that content, that connect with you. That's why podcasts are so great these days. And obviously radio, that long form content, people really connect with the people behind those microphones. And so it's awesome to hear some of those stories. Obviously, football season's coming up, so I'd love to talk a little bit about that. When it comes to trends that you've seen over the last few years, what do you noticing that it's going to shape what's coming ahead in the 2024 season?
Yeah, I just think people have gotten smart and pushed receivers up the board. I mean, you see it more in best ball. I know that's going to change when we get to our home leagues, but it's kind of the way I've built my teams. And again, a lot depends on format, but I play in a lot of leagues with 3 receivers and 2 flex spots. So I tend to go receiver heavy, and it's really worked for me. So you're seeing it a lot in best ball because, a lot of these running backs, no one had 300 carries last year. It's kind of hard to believe, right? So we're seeing more committees, more shared backfields, which means it's hard to pay up for the, top running backs. You're seeing McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Breece Hall go early, and then it kind of slows down, because you got some question marks. So I think you're seeing receivers really pushed up. And people are getting smart with the quarterbacks. Years ago, you were able to get these running quarterbacks late. You're not anymore. Even Patrick Mahomes' rookie year was like a QB2. Look at where Anthony Richardson, I know it's not a rookie, second year, Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Caleb, like you're not getting these running quarterbacks cheap anymore. So obviously people have gotten smart. There's so much content out there. So I think that's something that you're seeing changing.
For sure. Now, what about your personal preference when it comes to roster construction for most standard type leagues?
And that's the thing. I think roster construction is extremely important, and I don't think a lot of people do it well. Like, there's a lot of people in this industry who are very smart, right? They can break down players in a great way. But I think we're lacking how to put rosters together. And I don't know if it's because people are like, well, I touted this player, so I have to get him. But roster construction is so important. And that's what I look at. When I look at a draft board, I go, okay, let me see the roster construction. And sometimes I'm like, what are they doing? I saw there was a FSGA draft recently, and so many people took a second quarterback. And with 16 roster spots, where you only have 6 bench spots, if you're drafting Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, why are you taking a backup quarterback in July when you have a month until the season starts? So if this was last year, there were people passing on Kyron Williams to take a backup quarterback. Yeah. Why? Don't play scared. someone will be like, well, look at all the quarterback injuries last year. You can find someone off the waiver wire in a 12 or 14 team league.
Yeah.
So, and I'm telling you right now, all those teams that took the backup quarterback, they're going to drop them week 1, 2, or 3 because 6 bench spots is not a lot. And you're going to have bye weeks. You're going to have injuries. Your running back on Friday he's going to be ruled out. Now he goes to the bench. You're not dropping him if you have no IR spots. So roster construction is extremely important. For me, like I said, what has worked for me, and every year is different. And you also have to be flexible. I'll give you an example. So I was playing in the FFWC last year, and in that format, it's 4 points for a passing touchdown, and you start 2 running backs, 3 receiver, and 2 flex spots. So quarterbacks get pushed down. And I'm sitting there at the end of round 4, and Jalen Hurts is there. I said, you know what? I got to change my strategy. I'm not passing on Jalen Hurts in round 4. So I took him and had one of the best teams I ever had. Not just because of him. I mean, I got Kyron Williams in the double-digit rounds, Raheem Mostert in the double-digit rounds. So those really were the difference makers. But the point is, you have to be flexible. I think people have tunnel vision. They go into a draft and they go, this is what I'm doing. You could hear it if you hear calls. All right, I'm going to take this guy in round 1, this guy in round 2. You can have a blueprint, but you have to pay attention to what's going on. Because if people are going to let value fall into your lap, you take it. Like if you would have asked me before that draft, what are the chances you get Jalen Hurts? I would have said, 4%. But I changed on the fly. So I tend to build, though. I like to get one running back early, go receiver heavy. I'm more apt to pay up for quarterback now because they're going cheaper. You know, these elite quarterbacks this year are going in 3rd, 4th, 5th round. And then you could get even some good quarterbacks in 6th, 7th round. So, you know, a lot of people tend to wait on quarterback, but I'm open to paying for it now because it's not pricey. You don't have to, none of them are going in the first 2 rounds of drafts that I've seen. Yeah. So I just think I have a good feel for roster construction and also being flexible. You got to change your game plan if everyone's, because it's unpredictable what's going to happen. We think we know, but you know, and you also stick by your convictions. So for example, last year, I was completely out on Austin Eckler. Now, I don't know if I was right or wrong because he was having a great week 1 and he hurt his ankle. He had the high ankle sprain. He was never same rest of the year. Yeah. But so I did a draft where I was picking 9, passed on Eckler for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Round 2, I took Nick Chubb over Eckler, and Nick Chubb got hurt, so whatever. And then I think Eckler went. I think even Eckler went like after that. So Eckler was a consensus top 5 pick in that draft. Everyone kind of had a similar sentiment. So you could talk yourself into going, wow, Eckler's here in the early 2nd round. I got to take him. No, stuck with my conviction that I didn't think he was. I was worried about him. Yeah. So, you know, you have to do that in a sense too. If you believe in something, go with it. And if a lot of people play, I'm sure a lot of people listening to playing a lot of leagues. So if you play in like 8 to 10, I think you want to diversify in your early picks because if the injury happens, like if you took a lot of Austin Eckler last year, that's a tough road to overcome. But in the middle or late rounds, you don't have to. So like if Kyron Williams was someone I was eyeing last year, you could take him in every draft because he was 12th, 13th, 14th round pick. Some leagues he went undrafted. So if he flops, it's not going to crush you. It's just not. So find the guys you like late, you believe in. You can load up on them. But if you're playing in like 10 leagues and you have the number one pick in 3 leagues, you take maybe in the same player twice, but take a different one the 3rd time. If you believe, because Christian McCaffrey's not my number 1 guy this year, but if he is for you, don't take him in all 3. You know, no matter how much you believe in him, you got to diversify. If you're playing in like 8, 10, 12 leagues, I think your early round picks, because that if you get that injury, like last year, if you had Nick Chubb in a lot of leagues, that's a tough hole to dig out of. You can, your season's not over, but so that's one thing I think that's important. But roster construction is so important. So what I would advise people to do, find the people that you see winning a lot, whether it's someone in the industry or in a high stakes league, and examine their roster. See why they continuously win. What are they doing? How are they building their roster? That's one of the most important parts of fantasy sports that I don't think gets talked about enough.
I think that's all great advice. You're right. You got to be able to adapt. You got to pivot. Every league's different. So who you're drafting with, you know, changes. So you got to definitely read the room and adapt all the way. So I think that's a great message. So when it comes to players who's your number one overall if it's not McCaffrey? And then just name like a QB, a running back, a wide receiver, a tight end that you just got to jump ADP for this year that you're really high on.
Well, Bijan Robinson is my number one running back. I
Okay.
just think if you look at what he did last year, we were complaining every week, why isn't he getting the ball? And Arthur Smith is gone. Zach Robinson comes in, and they're going to feed him the football. This offense is going to be better. So McCaffrey, my only concern is he's 28, and he's coming off over 300 touches. He hasn't done that in years. And the last year he had that, the next year, he wasn't completely healthy. He's been healthy for the most part the last 2 years. He did get hurt late in the year. I did see some quotes from the 49ers coaches saying maybe we need to scale back a little bit. And it would be smart, right? More than likely they're going to make the playoffs again, and you want to keep him healthy. So, again, there's nothing else to knock. I know some people are like, you're crazy, you're overthinking it, but the production obviously is there. It's a great offense.
Yeah.
But I just feel, Bijan's younger, and I think he could finish as number one running back. A quarterback that I'll reach for is Kyler Murray. And I love the price right now. I mean, sometimes he's the 8th, 9th, 10th quarterback off the board. And he was top 5 in points per game for 3 years before he tore his ACL in 2022. And he came back last year, and he ran a lot better than I thought. He looked good. You bring in Marvin Harrison Jr., you got Trey McBride. I think Michael Wilson could have a good year. So I like where this offense is trending. The offensive line is better. The defense stinks. They could be in a lot of shootouts, and we want that rushing quarterback, right? You're being up for all the other guys. Murray's a very affordable right now, so he's definitely a guy at quarterback I like.
How about a tight end?
Pat Freiermuth. Really like him a lot because 7 touchdowns as a rookie. Last year, missed 5 games due to injury, and obviously the offense was terrible. The one thing about Arthur Smith, tight ends get a lot of volume in his offense. It's like, I think it was like over 30%. Last year, Jonnu Smith had 70 targets. Kyle Pitts had 90. For as much as we were like, what happened to Kyle Pitts? And I think the knee issue was a problem, but he had 90 targets, and Jonnu Smith had 70. And look at the Steelers receiver room. It's George Pickens and who else? No one that commands the football. And Freiermuth could be number 2 on targets in this offense. And that's what you want as a tight end. You're getting him as a tight end 2. So he's definitely someone that I will reach for. And I think because he's very talented. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
His injuries were a factor last year. So you look at the receiving room in Pittsburgh, you look at Arthur Smith's tendency to throw to tight ends. So Freiermuth's the guy for me.
Yeah, talented player for sure. And he's a guy, it's a great suggestion because you can get him in any league, every single league. He can be yours, because it's a later round draft pick. Doesn't hurt you if you pull the trigger on him and he disappoints, right? Doesn't hurt you at all. Any other deeper flyers, maybe like running backs that are just, a deep flyer that you got your eye on?
I mean, he's not deep, but he's starting to move up. But Chase Brown of the Bengals, but I'm afraid this preseason is going to move him up further, which kind of scares me. But receivers, there's obviously a lot. I think one that's being undervalued, kind of the middle rounds, is Christian Kirk. I think he should be going higher.
Okay. I love it. Great suggestions. It gets me all fired up for the season. It's coming quick. But let's dive into some rapid fire questions. I'll just throw out some questions, let the audience get to know you a little bit better. What is it that you're enjoying the most about what you're doing right now in the industry?
I'm just happy to be back on radio, back on Sirius XM Fantasy, because there was a period that I wasn't on. And for the most part, since 2010, almost any time I was on. So there was a gap where I wasn't on. So to be back, and actually in a good time slot too, because I've been in almost every time slot. Did the morning show at the beginning. I was even at midnight at a certain point, 10 p.m., 8 p.m. So I've been all over the map. So to get that 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern, that's a good time slot. So I'm really happy to be back on the radio.
Nice. Yeah. Sirius XM. That's your home. I love that. I love that you're there. And the Fantasy Life team is just, outstanding from top to bottom. So happy and thrilled for you to be there. So when it comes to the NFL offseason, I know there's no offseason for you because you got all the sports. But NFL offseason, what's your favorite part or event of the offseason?
Beginning of free agency. Just seeing whoever, guys changing teams, where they're going to go. For me, this offseason, it was very uneventful because the Cowboys did nothing. They didn't improve, and we're still waiting to sign their big guys. So I'm really not looking forward to the Cowboys season.
Nice. Now, it is sports for you. But what are your favorite hobbies outside of sports?
Well, does softball count? No, right? Because it's outside of sports.
Yeah, it's outside of sports fandom. I mean,
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah, no, I play softball. I hope to play until I'm 60, 65.
Yeah.
I still play the outfield, which is kind of amazing at my age, but I take pride in staying in shape. That's the one thing too. A lot of people who are in this industry work from home. Make sure you walk. My goal is to walk 10,000 steps every day, and I do it because I've been working from home for I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years now. So I make sure
Yeah.
to walk every day, stay active. But playing softball, I mean, I love comedy. So comedy is
Okay.
one of my favorite things. I've been to like at least 8, 9 different comedy clubs in New York. Obviously, all the
Nice.
stand up on Netflix. And one of my favorite shows is Impractical Jokers. Someone asked me if
Okay.
you weren't doing fantasy, do you know that show?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Okay. So someone said, if you weren't doing fantasy, what would you do? And I said, I would want to be one of the guys on Impractical Jokers because that's me playing jokes on people and I can be serious. I'm very good at not laughing. I just
Yeah.
love pranking people and I love seeing natural reaction from people. So I love that show. I got to see them in person when they were on tour, actually twice. One was they were filming a show, like a season finale in Staten Island. So I went to that. But I love that show. And comedy is big for me. I think it kind of comes through
Yeah.
during my shows too. I tend to be sarcastic, make jokes, but I love humor. You got to laugh, man. There's too many people that are serious in life.
True.
You got to try and enjoy each moment that you're here. So I love comedy. That's a big thing for me. And traveling, which I didn't really get to do this year, unfortunately, due to job situations. But I love to travel. Like I always said, like if I ever struck it rich, won the lotto, I would just travel like everywhere. There's so many different cultures I want to learn about and just see different places. There's some people that don't want to travel at all. Everyone's different. I get it. I just don't
Yeah.
understand that. Like, how do you not want to go different places? So I love to travel.
Good answers. Let's spin off of those. If you had to put together a fantasy sports industry Impractical Jokers show, who would be on it with you?
Oh, that's a good one. Whoo! Oh man, that is a good. I guess I think I'd have to put Howard Bender in there.
For sure.
Do I have to put Scott Angle? Hmm.
It'd be a good one.
Damn, this is a Justin Fenster would get mad if I didn't put him. Um. Damn, that's a good question. I really have to think about that.
I love
That's
it.
a good
Maybe
one.
next time. Yeah, maybe next
Do you
time.
have, do you have any suggestions?
Well, gosh, I mean, Jason Moore from the Fantasy Footballers
Okay.
would be fantastic, just because he's a comedy guy. He's a funny, naturally funny guy, and he's got a theater background, so I'm sure he could pull off every aspect of the Impractical Joker show. But so many, there's a lot of great people. I mean, Adam Rank is is a funny guy that loves comedy too. So tons of people in the space. Maybe next time you get to the expo, we put together something and pull some jokes on some people.
We should. I thought about that. I said, one year at the FSG or some event, like 4 of us should put it together. We should just now the hard part is the cameras. Like they have cameras. That's
Yeah.
the thing. People, there's so much that work that goes into that. And the hardest part is the show's been around 10 years.
Yeah.
They get noticed now. So they
Yeah.
probably have a lot of skits that they have to cut because as they're doing it, oh Joe, oh Sal.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Joe is not on the show. He was my favorite one. And he hasn't been on the show. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean that show looks like they have so much fun. Like
Yeah, good times for sure. No, I think that'd be a fun one. We'll put that in the back and pull that out sometime. I love it. What's your favorite all-time movie?
Shawshank Redemption.
Okay, that's a good one. Good one for sure. How about sports movie?
There's a lot, but Major League was a good one.
Yeah, Major League. I love Major League. That's definitely top of my list. What's your favorite thing about living in the New York, New Jersey area?
Just the diversity, so many things to do, so many good places to eat. That's the one thing. And I probably haven't eaten at like half the places. So many places too that I still need to see that tourists go to. And like you live here, you kind of take it for granted. But I just love it's not the same right now. Things have changed if you've been to New York. But just the life, the energy, different restaurants, so many things to do. Like,
Yeah.
if you even spent a week there, you wouldn't be able to hit that. Like I said, I've lived here my whole life. There's so many things that I have not done yet that I still need to do. So it's just that there's so much to do. And I'm so glad I grew up in New York. I know people get mad at New Yorkers, like you guys think you're better, but when you grow up here, you have that toughness, and you don't get hustled. You're aware of all the scams and people trying to outsmart you. So I'm just real fortunate to grow up in New York.
I love that. I love that. Now, you mentioned vacations. What's your favorite vacation you've ever been on?
Well, I have to say the one that in case my current girlfriend is watching, the one I went with her last year, but no, to Antigua. It was really good. And I've always said this, it really is about the person you are with. You could be with someone who you don't want to be around and they're miserable and you're like in this paradise place. You're not going to have fun. But if you're with someone that's good company and you enjoy them, it really doesn't matter where you are. I truly believe that. It's the person you're with. But I did go to Antigua last year and had a great time. It was just went to Sandals and
okay. I've been there. I've been to a few
Which one?
Sandals. I've been to the Bahamas, like two different ones in the Bahamas. Been to Jamaica, and I've been to Saint Lucia.
Oh, St. Lucia is definitely a place I want to go. Actually, I was kind of looking at that at that time, but I think because the carnival was going on, it was really expensive.
Yeah.
Also, Sandals, they treat you good, man.
They treat you real good. Yeah, highly recommend Sandals for sure.
Definitely. So that was definitely one of the better ones for sure.
Okay, how about a bucket list travel destination?
Man, there's so many places, but I definitely want to go to Italy. I know there's different places in Italy, like there's the Amalfi Coast, and but that's definitely on the list. Everyone's like, you'll love the food. You can't tell, but I love food, even though I'm like slim, but I love food.
What's your go-to snack and beverage?
Beverage, coffee. So I only drink coffee and water. That's it. Soda's horrible for you. You shouldn't drink it. It's one of the worst things for you. It's all sugar. I try to preach that message to get people healthy. Snack. Oh boy. Is guacamole count as a snack?
Why not? Yeah, chips and guac.
Yeah,
I mean,
guac.
It's good. It's a good one. How about a favorite meal?
Chicken cutlet parmesan.
Okay, that
There's
sounds
an
good.
Italian place by me, and some of the Giants actually go there.
Okay.
Mark Lewinsky, their former offensive lineman, ran into him in there.
Nice. I love it. That's awesome. How about what's the best pizza place in New York?
Oh, there's so many. I mean, Ray's Pizza is good. There's so many. Like everyone says, like the pizza and bagels in New York are just like and it's because of the water. That's why.
That's what I hear.
Yes.
Is that true?
That is true. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I've heard that, but I didn't know. But you can tell me that. I believe it for sure. Who's your favorite artist, band, musician of all time?
My favorite artist is Papoose. I don't know if you know or heard of him. He's a pop artist that was been independent most of his career. So he did a lot of mixtapes with DJ K-Slay, who passed away. He got a deal for $1.5 million, put out one album and left that label. But he's one of the more talented lyricists. And I was fortunate to interview him twice on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. I messaged him on Twitter and he responded like 2 or 3 years later.
No way.
I said, yeah, I'm a huge fan. I would love to have you on. You could promote your album. He's like, sure. So he came on the first time with me and Howard Bender. And then the second time he came on with me and Lisa Ann. So that was insane. But yeah, I've been a huge fan of him. And if you Google him, you'll see he's put out a ton of music over the years. And, sometimes you'll see him on Instagram in his car just freestyling. And I'm all about lyricism, telling stories. And he's done songs about law library, breaking down the law, just Monopoly, talking about he did like dead rappers and rhyme like them. Like he's just creative. Like he does so many diverse things. Spits knowledge in his rhymes as well, educates you. So that's my favorite artist.
Great answer. I love that. What are you most grateful for at this time?
My health, man. People take it for granted. I mean, I think I'm healthy. I haven't had a physical in a bit, but yeah, man, like people don't realize it. In this country, we're so unhealthy. A lot of the food is so bad. And I'm not saying I eat perfect. I try to eat better, but like the fast food, the sugar, I mean, watch TV, right? What do you see? Every other commercial, something for medication. Or fast food or something unhealthy for you. So I'm just thankful that I'm healthy and, that I can be active and do things and still play softball, at
Yeah.
my age on a weekly basis and don't get hurt. So I think it's something we really take for granted, and it's so important, right? We all know people or friends, family that are sick, and you see the
Yep.
struggle. They can't even, walk a few blocks or
Yeah.
whatever it is that has happened to them. But I'm just thankful that I'm healthy, especially since I had a dad who passed away at age 36.
Yeah.
We tend to take things for granted, and we see tragic things happen all the time, and you just don't know. So I'm just thankful that I'm healthy right now.
It's a great, perfect answer. I couldn't agree more. Health is nearly as important as it gets, and I see that every day. And I think that's a great answer. Can you at this time can you name some of the people that just have had the biggest impact on you over your time in this fantasy industry?
Yeah, just people who have helped me along the way. I mentioned some already. Scott Angle for sure. Nando Defino, who's
Mhm.
now with Fantasy Life. He gave me an opportunity to do some freelancing at the Athletic, and he was the one who put this together. Howard Bender, Al Williams from Fantasy Alarm was great. I've worked with so many people. I'm gonna leave names out, but like those are a few that kind of helped me. Scott Atkins as well, bringing me on to full time fantasy. Worked with Dr. Roto for a while, and we're fortunate he's back healthy now. Had the kidney transplant, so glad that he's doing well. Got to work with him for many years. Jake Seeley, who I worked with, Pat Mayo. We had a squad, man, over at Roto Experts and FNTSY. And then it's even good to see some of the younger guys that I saw come up. Frank Stanfield now at CBS, Michael Florio, NFL Network. So many people that I got to work with over the years, and especially what we had there at FNTSY, Roto Experts. Like you see all these guys now dispersed all over
Yeah.
at different companies. So, and Matt Deutsch, man,
Oh,
former program director, Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. He was the one who suggested that he thought I was a good fit to work with Lisa Ann. And, I did the Lisa Ann Does Fantasy show. I think we started 2013 to 2020. And she as well, I mean, working with her, she's a phenomenal person, man. Like we're like great friends. And, we talk frequently, and, she gives great life advice. So again, that's another friend that I've made that has been because of this industry. So yeah,
yeah.
Matt Deutsch gave me the opportunity as well. So I know I'm probably missing people. There's just so many because I've
Yeah.
worked with so many over the years. But yeah, there's great people in this industry. And Matthew Berry as well. I mean, everyone thanks him, for him, signing off
Yeah.
on bringing me on. He could have said no.
Yeah.
So that's the thing in this industry. There's so many people that they want to help you.
Yeah.
They want to pave the way, and especially if they know you and you have a good track record or history. So yeah, there's so many people that have given me the opportunity, and I know there's a lot of people here in this industry that want to move up, and you don't get that opportunity. It's more difficult now. I will say that. It's easier to get a platform, right? YouTube, podcast, but it's more difficult to separate yourself.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, you just named some amazing people, incredibly talented people, but I think most of those people you named, I mean, I think when I hear those names, just genuinely good people looking out, and which I think is a great testament of the fantasy community. It's a special group of people. A lot of people come together for that common love of fantasy, but I think that the connections in the community really keeps people together. So it's always been a pleasure to connect with you and see you, and looking forward to doing that more in the future. And again, like you mentioned, there's a lot of people that are still, obviously trying to come up and do things in the space. Do you have any more advice for people that want to get more involved in fantasy sports?
Yeah, just repetition. Whatever you're doing, you got to keep doing it, and just be yourself. Don't try to be someone else and emulate someone else, because the phoniness will clearly come out. Just be who you are. Like when you hear me on the radio, that's who I am. That's how I am in real life. I'm sarcastic. I have to tone it down a little bit on radio because of the climate today. So that's
Sure.
the one thing I got to be very careful what I say. Like
Yeah.
for those that listen to the show in 2010 to 2015, we definitely went off the deep end a lot. That would not work today. They would have taken us off there after 10 seconds. That's how
Yeah.
crazy it was. But yeah, if you're passionate about something, just keep grinding, keep doing it. And networking is very important. Just you never know who can help you. And yeah, don't burn. And I will tell you this: be very careful of what you say on social media. I've had people who have interviewed me for jobs. They said they go through social media. You think that you making a harmless comment, be very careful. They have told me they have disqualified people from jobs because of their social media. And if you look at mine, you don't see me nothing political, not critical. It's just, it does you no good. If you want to voice your opinion about something, do it with your friends. Do it off social media. People who are looking to hire you, they look at that stuff. And if you're like saying off the wall stuff and somebody, I don't care, it's okay, that's fine. Then just don't expect a job in the industry because you might get disqualified because they will look through it. So,
and that goes for every industry. I mean, every employer is looking at social media these days to kind of see who they're dealing with.
Right. And especially if you have a company in your bio, right? They're going to be like, wait a second. So just be careful because you've seen it. There's some people that are just like, are unfiltered and it's not going to help you get a job down the road. But I always like, just if you're passionate about something, keep doing it, network, just show up. And hopefully a door opens. And once you get that opportunity, you got to run away with it. You got to work hard and, show up, go the extra mile, be there when needed. It pays dividends down the road. Like I told you, I didn't get paid. I was basically doing 5 days a week radio during the morning and working at a newspaper at night. So I was getting home 11:30, and then I'd have to prepare for the morning show the next day. And there were times I slept 2 hours in a night. There were times I didn't sleep because I've been a night owl my whole life. So it'd be like 2:30 and I'm like, should I really sleep for an hour and a half? I said, you know what? I'm just going to catch the next bus, go to the city, get something to eat and get there early. So, a lot of sacrifices to do it. But those sacrifices I feel will always pay off down the road. If you're good at what you do and you show up, that's the thing. Hard work is so important. Like, that's something that you can't teach. You either have the work ethic or you don't. And people will realize it. They'll know. And showing up on time, handing assignments in on time. I didn't realize how many people don't do that. Someone's like, oh, you always are. I'm like, aren't you supposed to? Because I grew up in a newspaper where daily newspaper, you had deadlines. You don't meet the deadlines, your paper doesn't run and you're not going to keep your job. So that kind of helped formulate the way for me. But just if you're passionate about something, pursue it, keep doing it, and just try and stand out. And again, the more people the better. You never know who could open a door, and don't burn those bridges. You never know. Like, someone could be in a position like, oh, well, whatever. And next year he could be a guy that's hiring.
Yeah, true. Great advice. I think you nailed it for sure. Can you tell the listeners, viewers, where to find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. Simple, at Adam Ronis. On Instagram, at Aaron, ARON 88. TikTok, at Adam Ronis. You can find me on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio, weekdays, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern, Fantasy Life with myself and Kendall Valenzuela. And I also have a betting service, Dub Club. You can find the link in my bios or on my Twitter. Like I said, the results are there. You can see I do well. Again, I'm not winning every night. No one is. But over the long haul, if you stick with me, more than likely you will profit. Not going to guarantee anything. But again, you could go see I post the results. I try to post it daily. Obviously, there's some nights where maybe I'm out doing something and I might not do it. But even if it's a 1-in-3 night, I'll put it up there because you need to be transparent with people,
Sure. For sure.
Same thing in fantasy, right? Or when you get something wrong, okay, got it wrong. Why did I get it wrong? And learn from it. This is like anything in life. You just keep learning. No matter how good you are, you just keep learning and keep getting better.
Well, such great advice. So many great nuggets, Adam. Anything that we didn't cover that you want to share before we close things out?
No, I just appreciate everyone who has supported me over the years. Without people consuming your content, listening, we're not here. So just want to thank everyone who has supported me over the years, and hopefully you'll continue to do so. And, if you follow my track record, I do well in leagues, man, because I put in the work. I'm always going to be near the top of the standings. My name's on it. I take pride in it, and I love to win, and I want to help people win. And I think I've done a good job of it over the years, and want to continue to do it and have fun and just love the fantasy and betting industry. Met good people, and it's a great industry to be in, because you would think we're competing for different eyeballs, but everyone comes together, has a lot of fun. And anytime you can get to these events, do it, whether it's a draft, Scott Fishbowl, look what that has become. We had drafts across different cities. The Fantasy Football Expo, Bob Long, who I worked with too at Roto Experts, shout out to him. That's a tremendous event. I mean, I got to play flag football with Des Bryant last year. I mean, think about that. I'm a huge Cowboy fan. You see my email, 88's in it. That's because of Michael Irvin, really. But Michael Irvin, Des Bryant, CeeDee Lamb. I love wide receivers. Those are my guys. And the first game at the Fantasy Football Flag Expo last year, my team went against Des Bryant. We lost. Awesome. He was the quarterback. But still, and got to take a picture with him and everything and meet him. So, yeah, it's just this fantasy industry has just brought so much happiness and so many good relationships to my life. And just so glad to be in it from the beginning. I came in at a good time.
Sure. Well, it's fun to see your rise. It's fun to see you back at Sirius XM. It's fun to see you with Fantasy Life. Again, incredible people. Best of luck moving forward with that. I can't wait to see what's next for you in 2024.
Definitely, man. Always good talking to you, and hopefully we'll be splitting a ride somewhere soon.
Sounds good, my man.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Football Unlimited podcast. Until next time, be sure to follow and subscribe to all of FFU's social media accounts for daily content.